The longer you play a game, the more you can spot its flaws. Paladins is definitely a good game that I've poured lots of hours into and enjoyed the majority of them. However, following the ebb and flow of its development for a long time, some of those flaws are really apparent to me. On Reddit and the forums, veterans seem to be angsty too over design choices and gameplay issues, but as those players are the most hardcore of the player base, those people are the ones to become more aware of those flaws too. This definitely isn't an "oh no, the game is dying" post. Everything I'll talk about is a positive suggestion to move forwards. So today I'm going to go over my top 10 changes that will make Paladins a better game. In no particular order of importance, and as I go through my list, feel free to add in the comment section below what you would like to see or build on any of my points. Coming in at number 1 is redistributing new players' champion pool. So recently, due to a bug that only affected streamers and YouTubers with full friends list, meant I couldn't log into my main account. I made a Smurf account called Smurfino, and I was honestly shocked to see the starting champion pool. As it stands, there is 1 frontliner Fernando, 1 support Pip, 1 flank Skye, and 5 damage dealers Canessa, Drogos, Cassie, Victor, and Tyra. I think it sticks out like a sore thumb the biggest problem with this. You guessed it, 5 options for damage dealing pickup and only 1 option for all the other classes. One of the things players like to gripe about is the amount of people that don't pick a frontliner support. Sure, it isn't just new players and new accounts that do this, but it doesn't help with setting off and starting the trend. You also can't have a common lineup of a double frontline with this either. Another interesting meme in the community is that Pip is always picked as a flanker when everyone was hoping for support. And sure, Mega Potion, the healing legendary, is a default one, but Pip is one of the harder healers to use well. His healing potion is fiddly at best, with players triggering it mid-air or misjudging, and buggy at worst times, which can lead to his healing being subpar. To sort out this issue, I'd suggest instead of having 5 damage dealers, redistribute 3 of those and give new players 2 of each champion type. With supports especially, it would be useful to have one of the 3 more traditional healing type champions, Ceres, Madamba, and Ying, the ones that are easy to rack up big heals and are simple to do that with. Then one of the more utility supports like Grok, Grover, Pip, who are good at several things, crippling enemies, damage, and flanking occasionally, and this could be applied to all of the other classes too. 2. Decouple the Radiant chests from the grind system. I've talked about this the most in the past, and the Essence system and grind are probably the #1 thing peeving off the community at the moment. So I don't want to beat a dead horse too much, however I strongly believe that removing RNG, random number generation, from the way you progress in the game would make the new player and general grind better. Currently, to grind cards, you must grind gold to open a chest which contains both cosmetics and gameplay effects cards. You can also buy cards you want with Essence, which you get by getting the duplicate cards. Confusing, I know. The problems currently are new players get cosmetics when they want cards, veterans get cards and Essence when all they want is cosmetics, annoying both parties. Also, the randomness of it could mean that one person's grind is okay, while somebody else's is ridiculously hard. It's all luck. Hi-Res don't release the drop chance of these chests, but estimations from player surveys have not been good about the drop chances. Plus, they are constantly adding sprays that are simply card art, and new champions mean that the chance of getting something you actually want gets smaller and smaller. The one thing I think that Paladins hasn't got over since it was closed beta is that it isn't a card collecting game. What happened is they made a choice to completely rejig what the core of the game was, from the effects of constant cards which were powerful and would be consistently used throughout the game, to more of a method of loadout and tinge of customization. However, Hi-Res employees have compared Paladins to Hearthstone on the grind, and the biggest evidence they still think this way is that every Paladins YouTube video currently carries the tag CCG, which stands for Card Collecting Game. First of all, as someone with a lot of hours in Hearthstone, I quit because the grind became too much, and secondly, Hearthstone will drop only usable cards from packs. There isn't the mess of cosmetics and grind being linked, or at least there wasn't when I was playing. There are gold cards, but then duplicates can still be recycled for crafting resource. All in all, making Essence something you earn with matches, daily logins, etc. be used for grinding gameplay affecting cards, and gold could be used for grinding cosmetics, radiant chests with only vanity items, and customizations like champion masteries. And this would make things a lot less frustrating. Honestly, the grind is one of the things that makes me embarrassed as a content creator about the game, and they really need to sort out. 3. Fix the Spectator Camera. Currently, one of the huge frustrations for players is seeing an enemy in the kill feed seemingly miss no shots and look like they're using an aimbot, where the truth is the server is just showing you the shots that connected, and there is some syncing issues with actual gameplay actions and what the server records. It also makes esports less fun to watch because some amazing feats are ruined. For example, a EU player called Mutastina played Androxus, which got a ridiculous killing spree, and one of the kills he spun 180 and flick-shotted an enemy in the head, but on the screen, the flick and aim weren't shown, and it looked like he just locked onto the target, slid around, and hit them. So, to stop the bogus reports, misplaced frustration about hackers, and to make esports more fun to watch, this is something that might be hard to fix, but would be worth making more representative of actual gameplay. Number 4. Stagger releases over the week rather than announcing them before the weekend when little can be done about the issues being found. Have short delays if big bugs are found, to react to the issues and releases an updated PTS to make sure that the new changes don't bring new bugs. Currently, the release pattern is a fixed 2-week cycle of announcement and bringing up the public test server. The update then goes live from Monday to Wednesday the following week. So what seems to happen currently is the PTS will go up, people will find bugs over the weekend, the devs and QA will look at the build early the next week, and because the time frame for the release is so small, either the bugs will go live unfixed, or a new version that never went up on the PTS will go live and will have new bugs that slip through the net and didn't exist previously in the old version of the PTS. So having the update announced on a Monday could give devs time to react to issues during the week, get a new version of the PTS updated, and perhaps react to that. It could be that staff do work over the weekend, in which case perhaps there just needs to be more resources in the QA team to pull things up, but most big titles now do have a public test server and use it to iron out things that don't necessarily turn up internally. And obviously the other option is putting the brakes on when bugs are big enough. So why do Hi-Rez have this 2-week update cycle? It's to keep the never-ending hype train choo-chooing. Now I don't think this is wholly bad, you get lots of new content, there's always a buzz, but the current system often ends up with cheesing off swathes of the player base, interfering with competitive level play, and often hitting esports streams, and just generally making a buggy product. And number 5 is adding a low priority queue. So if you haven't heard of a low priority queue before, think about all the casual games you're packed full of toxic players and hackers. Now fold that concept neatly into a personal hell dungeon. That pretty much sums up a low priority queue. I'm kidding, partly. The concept of a low priority queue is to automatically drop players who are reported en masse, so lots, for harassment, hacking and game trolling. Generally those people ruining live matches. So they go into their own separate queue of degenerates and they have to win a set amount of games, say 3 for the first offense, and to not A, leave a game, B, not to get reported wholly by an enemy team or a whole ally team again, or go AFK for example. If they do offend again, the games needed to leave will keep stacking up. Why do we need something like this? Well, firstly, it seems that Hi-Rez aren't equipped to manually go through the reports and to get to hackers and other game spoilers fast enough before lots of damage is done. There are lots of cases of hackers making it onto leaderboards, wreaking havoc before the steely taste of a banhammer. Now hacking pretty much plagues all games, and there are some similar tales to be shared, but with no automated system in place, it can seem forever before a human sits down and reviews a load of evidence that rains justice upon them. Now, a low priority queue is good because whilst being automated, if you weren't actually that bad and you play nicey, you can get out of the situation pretty easily. If you deserve to be there or keep going back, it will become more of a prison without needing to be a formal ban. The queue could also cure the current problem with the game dodging where someone leaves during champion selections and things like that, so dropping them into this Q2 with a lighter sentence could be an option. So normally the punishment in itself is climbing out of this mode, longer waits for matches, and not getting any rank or gold for doing so, and could help with some of the hacking, toxicity, and dodging that goes on at the moment. 6, this one's really simple, a report for hacking option. Currently there's no option to report a player for hacking, there's only a box for other. Even if these reports are just a placebo, it doesn't really make sense to pretend there isn't hacking when, like mentioned in point 5, it happens in all games. Not having this box and drop down for aimbot, wall hack, remounting, etc., it just doesn't instill a lot of confidence in things being done, and a simple change that just seems kinda ridiculous to me. 7, matchmaking balance in casual being less harsh on groups. So in a lot of games the group stomp is king, but in Paladins often the opposite is true, at least in the casual queue. Whilst Hi-Rez haven't released any matchmaking specifics, using sites like Paladins Guru and watching match trends, one of the biggest causes for a stomp is a group of 3 to 5 being on a team, especially if players are at different skill levels. But if not, it does seem to multiply their elo, their rating anyway, because on Paladins Guru, often a team full of 3,000 elo players will be put against 4 or 5 2,000 elo players for example, and almost without fail, that game will be a wipeout. It won't be fun for either side, and could make all parties sour and quit. Again, it isn't Hi-Rez internal rating, but it is such a consistent trend I'm confident to say it exists to some degree. There is still the problem of really high skill players stacking together, Sometimes I will go against a majority of Flashpoint and Burrito as they chill out and casual, which is fine, and some people do get annoyed about these stacks, but playing with friends shouldn't really be frowned upon, and there isn't much way for the matchmaking system to pick if there isn't anything close to match them with. But definitely it is very harsh on the majority of parties with less veteran players that can be dialed back a bit. 8. Replace current champion borders with an overall skill border for your account. In my opinion, one of the big frustrations and detriments to competitive at the moment is champion borders making people pick out of draft champions they like, or avoiding a champion that would be good if they see their team and don't want to lose their champion rating. Instead, I think having a set of borders and tiers for overall competitive rating and your account matchmaking rating would be much better. These could split into more rankings, so more tiers, just to give a similar sense of achievement ranking up sets of champion borders does. I do think champion masteries could have some effect on the borders, maybe portraits themselves or having some kind of insignia indicating mastery ranking, but champion borders as they aren't wholly representative of actual skill, with few matches needed to achieve one, and not really being able to lose it, which would be frustrating when collecting sets of champions, but with having an account border would give more meaning to your current competitive standing overall, and would give you a firm incentive to play it and get it shown off whenever you play. 9. Hybridize matchmaking rating reward for competitive low elo games based on individual performance, and higher matchmaking ratings based on win/loss. I've seen this suggested on the Overwatch subreddit of all things, but it might also be an interesting way to combat the perceived elo hell in Paladins 2. Often early matches or games with less experienced teammates can lead to feeling like losing when you perform well due to picks, positioning, trolling, or your own ego, but currently all games are judged by win-loss, mainly with some weight on the champions you play and their rating. One way to make the grind feel less weighted on the luck of the matchmaking could be to have some form of player-based ranking up to, say, 4,500 MMR. Taking into account on your class performance, so damage or healing, etc., and your general kills and deaths. Then moving on to traditional team-based win and loss once you get to that higher MMR. This one is a bit out there, but is an interesting approach to the elo hell issue, and could be something worthwhile to allow you to climb fast out of the low ranks if you truly deserve it, and then get to a grind where people likely know what they are doing and can perform as a team to be ranked on your team play. Up in my number 10 spot is lore. Paladins does have some teasers of backstories and hints at a greater story in the voice commands of most champions and how they react. I also want to make it clear that when I say lore, I don't just mean a story, but currently Paladins feels mostly devoid of meaning or connectedness in general, with players themselves connecting some of the vague dots. For example, most maps currently having a more generic theme, like an ice map, a jungle map, things like that, but Bright Marsh as Pip's home was a step in the right direction, but still, most of the game exists in a bit of a lore grey zone. Lore is definitely one of the most requested features people talk about a lot in my videos, and is definitely a powerful force in the gaming world. Just look over the shoulder to Overwatch, the lore partly instills the craze by allowing more people to orbit around and join in with the fandom, plus generally giving a deeper meaning to the players, characters and environments they battle tooth and nail within. So the more lore soon, the better. So those are all of the changes and additions I think could really help with Paladins right now. Are there any that you would add to this, any you perhaps disagree with, or any of these that you'd really like to see? Be sure to let me know in the comments section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed this, subscribe for more to really help me out, and thank you all very much for watching. Until next time everybody, Joshino.